doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
You spoke with Mr. Witkoff and with Mr. Kushner
Last night.
Did they give you the sense that President Putin still wants to end the war, wants to make peace?
He would like to end the war. That was their impression. Now, whether or not, that was their impression. Their impression was that he would like to see the war ended. I think he'd like to get back to dealing a more normal life. I think he'd like to be trading with the United States of America, frankly, instead of, losing thousands of soldiers a week. But their impression was very strongly that he'd like to make a deal. We'll see what happens.
Mr. President, expect for phase 2 of the Gaza peace plan to be implemented?
Well, it's going along well. They had a problem today, I understand, with a bomb that went off and hurt some people pretty badly, probably killed some people. They're telling me it just happened. But it's going on. We have peace in the Middle East. People don't realize it. We have tremendous support. 59 countries.
Iran talks about death to Israel, death to America. They just see us as a stepping stone to getting to America with ICBMs, long-range missiles that can be targeted on any American city with nuclear bombs. So we're fighting our battle for sure, but we're fighting the free world's battle against the barbarian. Is that you say we committed war crimes, I committed war crimes, whatever. I guess look, I would say that no army has done what Israel has done to try to get civilians out of harm's way, and Hamas has done everything in its power to keep civilians in harm's way. We tell them, please get out of a combat zone, and they shoot. Hamas shoots civilians who try to leave in order to get casualties, in order to get the propaganda effect that you're talking about, which is obviously very bad. It's debilitating. I think Churchill would have been accused of stupendous war crimes. We don't carpet bomb. We don't do Dresden. We don't do any of that. We send our soldiers, some of whom die, trying to clear out these booby traps that Hamas has put in. So how come Israel is getting bashed so quickly? How come? That's the question. And I recognize that we have a battle for the truth. We have a battle for the truth with bots. They just buy these bots, put them into the cell phones that are, by the way, produced by Israel, these cell phones, many of them, and they just brainwash entire generations of youth. And yes, we have a problem there, and we'll have to fight this battle and use all our inventiveness, all our creativity to fight this battle. But one of the ways to dissipate this is to end the war quickly, which is what I'm trying to do. It was clear to me that we were not only fighting Hamas, we were fighting Hezbollah, we were fighting the Assad regime, we were fighting the militias in Iraq, we were fighting the Houthis, we were fighting Iran, and we did. We won this war. We won this war, but it's never ending. It's like, if you have cancer and you take it out, it can still come back. It's certain types of cancer. But if you don't take it out, you die. So we took it out.
Nice and warm in here.
Welcome back to the SCIF. We're back in one of our studios, and glad to be back from the Pentagon. I've got my Pentagon Christmas cookie. Isn't that special? They were giving those out as we left yesterday. So I want to say hello to the crew. Thank you for joining us today. Love the engagement already across X, across Rumble, in the chats, and other places. We get it all coming in, so we see the feed. So thank you for getting involved already. I want to go into what happened at the Pentagon. You know, it was New Media Week. We were one of the selected media organizations. We weren't on the first list. We had to get shoehorned in there because we ask a lot of really important questions, and they know that. So we weren't like the first, choice, if you will. And so we did get in. It's the results that count, and we were there, and we asked some really good questions. And let me just say, the new media group is great. I mean, there are, they may not have as much experience as some of the old hands from CBS, NBC, Wall Street Journal, etc., but they are definitely motivated and connected to the people, as Secretary Hegseth said. Of course, there are some there that are going to be pushing certain narratives. Of course, there are some there that really aren't serious people, but I would say the majority are well-intentioned, and there's a handful that, including myself, I will say. David Zier is another one. Conrad, G Captain, is another one. Extremely knowledgeable, serious reporters who are going to get to the issues and ask, as Secretary has said, good questions and hold us accountable, but not going to be trying to ambush us around every turn. So that's kind of how I see it in our role. I see our role, CDM and Armed Forces Press, AFP, our role at the Pentagon is to provide that mirror and that accountability to the administration on a lot of things. There's going to be more conflicts. We're going to ask some hard questions. Why are you doing this? We asked a question, which I showed this week on Venezuela and what the real agenda was there. And by the way, boy, do we have a good show today. Emerald Robinson's going to be here in the third segment this hour to talk about what's really happening in Venezuela and what is going on with our elections. I put in the title, What's Real in the Caribbean. That she's going to let us know what's real in the Caribbean. So all in all, a really good 3 days at the Pentagon. We're all set. We're going to be there. We're going to be traveling. We're likely going to be on the USS Ford down in the Caribbean, the aircraft carrier. We'll see. But a lot of good things for CDM and AFP, and we're going to hoist the petard, if you will, and bring our style of reporting into the halls of government, which I'm really, really, really excited about. Let's see. Check out whatfinger.com, great aggregator site. Put them in your daily scan, along with cdm.press. We're the first. cdm.press, morning, noon, and night. We'll keep the doctor away and give you the information that you need. So please do that for us. We need the traffic. We're rocking and rolling on Truth Social. We're throttled on Rumble. We're throttled on YouTube. We're throttled on X. We were going gangbusters on Gettr, and then we got throttled there. But truth is, we're rocking and rolling. I think we got like 8 million people or 7 million across 2 or 3 of our main channels there, and it's just really good to see. Lots of engagement, hundreds of retweets, hundreds of comments on posts. I really, really, really like to see that. So there's going to be a lot of consequences or good things coming from the Pentagon Media Week. We got a lot of good interviews. We're going to be writing up on AFP some information over the next couple of days from the trip. But we got a lot of good relationships and a lot of good new guests that we're going to be bringing in. We're going to have David Zier from Real America's Voice next week. We're going to have Stu Scheller, the Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel who was kicked out of the Marine Corps over the Afghanistan issue. We're going to have likely Matt Lohmeyer at some point. We're going to have G Captain John Conrad. Fantastic knowledge. The man who single-handedly is keeping the U.S. Navy in check and on the right track, or trying to. So really looking forward to that. And today we're going to let you see, you may have seen it already on the website, but Christmas at the Pentagon is back. And I found that really, really special, and I'll dig into that. A lot of other issues you saw in the cold open, more pressure for more war. You saw some of the Epstein stuff. What's going on in Ukraine. I want to talk about that. And then we're going to have a surprise at the end of the show. So buckle in. We got a lot to go through, a lot of good stuff coming. It's going to be a great show. Stay with us on the SCIF. We'll be right back.
celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Pandemic, we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah, all the men will cheer, the boys will shout, the ladies they will all turn out and will all...
Well, I was just informed by Amy Williams that the show's not streaming on Rumble. You know, it's always something here. They're always coming after us one way or the other. For some reason, Rumble blocked that stream this morning. So what we'll do, I loaded the X stream on the CDM website, and we will upload the show afterwards here on Rumble. So I can't really do anything about it now. Once it gets going, guys, the team is just doesn't have that ability. So apologize for that, but we'll keep going and we'll get the show out as usual as best we can. So something I wanted to just make you aware of is that the U.S. drone situation, there was a unit sent with Shahed ripoff drones made by the U.S. to the Middle East. One-way attack drones is what they called it, and that's obviously an offensive capability. But the question is, why are they sent to the U.S.? The Middle East. Why are we sending one-way attack drones to the Middle East? Are we in a war in the Middle East? I didn't think we were. So that's a question I have. That's one I'm going to ask the Pentagon this week. And we're going to ask some officials and get some answers. This is exactly why we are on the Pentagon War Correspondent team, is because we're going to ask questions like that. And that's going to be our role, is to pressure on these conflicts that come up, and as the deep state tries to get us in more and more and more and more conflicts. So anyway, sorry about the Rumble stream. It's always something that throws you off when you got a good show going, but we're going to have a good show anyway. Emerald Robinson is coming on at the bottom of the hour, and then I've got a surprise for you in the second hour, along with some other stuff. So Christmas gifts, paying the price, the untold story of the Iranian resistance, my book on the Iranians and how we can use that resistance effort to take down the regime from the inside and not start another war with Iran, as these one-way drones may be saying. And my other book, re-released by History of Books, Currency, first of the Connor Murray series. The rest will come soon. It's available as we speak on historyofbooks.com. And both of these books are available anywhere books are sold. Great Christmas gifts. So thank you. I'm going to let's walk through some stories, and then I'm going to play a clip from Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon. So let's talk a few stories here. This one is important. Lyme disease on the Bet David podcast yesterday or recently, the FDA Commissioner Markey said high degree of probability that Lyme disease comes from Plum Island, just off the coast of Connecticut. I think we all knew this, that it was a tick-borne illness likely developed on Plum Island, which is a biological warfare lab where Nazis were brought over on Operation Paperclip. By the way, we're going to be investigating this and giving you more information, but wow, this is like disclosure and a relief for a lot of people to actually see the guy say it out loud. So more to come. Let me just put it that way on that entire issue. We're going to watch this in a second, but Secretary Hegseth brought Christmas back to the Pentagon. Beautiful ceremony. I'll talk about that in a second. I'm just going to run through these quick because we got a lot going on today. Here's one we broke this morning on the Georgia Record. Why would an attorney working for the state of Georgia also be defending criminal defendants against the state of Georgia? This is the head of the Georgia GOP, Josh McCoon, who is working for the Georgia Technical College as a chief counsel, I believe is the position. I could be wrong on that, but it's a legal position. And he's also representing clients against the state of Georgia. That's a big no-no, conflict of interest, and just more, in our words, unprofessional behavior by the head of the GOP, Josh McCoon, in Georgia. We'll continue to talk about that likely on the Georgia show this Wednesday night. The income tax may be going away. Trump says just get rid of it. Wow. Isn't that special? We hope so. We hope so, President Trump. Let's get rid of it. It just causes a lot of heartache for a lot of people. This story, Trump said he is ending the third world immigration. There's a lot of conflict on this. Why is he doing this now? Is it because he's getting such bad poll numbers? Is it because Mark Mitchell went to the White House for Rasmussen and told him you're destroying the base? Likely. This reaction is, the timing is too interesting. Why haven't we got this for the last 8 months? We don't know. But obviously somebody else has different agendas than the America First agenda inside the White House. Then this one we're going to dig into. Got Pete Blaber tomorrow. What's going on in Ukraine? They did not meet with Zelensky. There's a lot of smoke, a lot of fire. We'll see what happens on the Ukraine war. We're hopeful, and we're going to keep the pressure on. That's all I'm going to say. Now, I had a wonderful experience at the Pentagon yesterday, and I'm going to play this here in a second. But this is the Christmas ceremony for the lighting of the tree at the Pentagon. It's the first inaugural event of the Christmas tree lighting at the Pentagon in the courtyard in the center of this cookie. So it was a wonderful experience, and I was really touched. A lot of us forget about the suffering and the sacrifices these families go through, and I just want to highlight that it was a really pleasant event. It was everyone was very respectful and enjoyed the Christmas ceremony, and it was great to see Christmas at a federal institution. And I was almost a little emotional about it because I just felt the connection to the troops and Christmas and the meaning of the season. So I'm going to play this now. This is the Christmas tree ceremony, lighting of the Christmas tree, the inaugural event, because it's never been done like this, by Secretary Hegseth at the Pentagon yesterday.
Christmas, everybody. What a wonderful and special evening. Thank you all for joining us, our family, almost all of our family. We're missing 3, but we'll have them for Christmas. And we want to thank all of your families as well for the support you give as warriors and civilians inside this department to the entire country in support of this mission. I see some kiddos here. Excellent. I hope all you kiddos know that your moms and dads are heroes who fight and work to support our country. So I keep them away from home a little bit more than I should. They work hard and they're heroes to support the country. I hope you get some hot chocolate, some cookies, and maybe a photo with Santa. I don't know. I can't promise. I haven't seen him, but we have a lot of radars. Heard he could be in the area. We are gathered to celebrate the blessing of Christmas season here at the Pentagon. And a couple of months ago, my wife said, "Babe, President Trump brought Merry Christmas back. We're going to bring Christmas back to the Pentagon." And that's what we're doing. We are going to light a new permanent Christmas tree, and this one is a beauty. A 14-foot Nellie Stevens holly from Chantilly, Virginia, local. They say when the tree was planted, there were bald eagles flying overhead. True story. Fitting for this building. It will grow to 30 feet tall and live for at least 50 years, a fitting tribute to the warrior ethos here. It replaced a small serviceberry tree that was slated for removal anyway, so it made sense. But we're here to remember the real reason for the season. It's easy to get caught up. It happens with our family all the time. The commercialism of the moment is a very real thing. The commercials come and the clicking goes, the lists grow, you get to the cards and the travel and the end of year business and you get wrapped up in it. But in this season of Advent, Christians are called to pause and reflect, to turn away from the things of the world and look upward toward the anticipation of the coming of our Savior, Jesus Christ. We remember and await the coming of our Lord, who was born of the Virgin Mary into the humblest of circumstances in the city of Bethlehem. The Savior who took on flesh and made the ultimate sacrifice for all of us and our salvation. That is the real reason for the season. So in this season, we worship, we reflect, we rest, and of course, with our families, we eventually feast. We prepare to spend time together, remember the ones that we love, and we remember the ones that are fighting to protect all of us, to bring peace on earth and goodwill toward men, except narco-terrorists. We want to ensure every family everywhere enjoys a peaceful Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. That's our job. President Trump is bringing, on behalf of the American people, peace through strength. And you get that peace through strength. This is the Strength Department. Our job is to stand ready, stand tall, and be prepared. And that's what our men and women do around the globe every day. Jen and I had a chance to go out to an aircraft carrier and a destroyer over Thanksgiving and eat some Thanksgiving turkey with the troops. It was incredible. I couldn't think of a better way to spend Thanksgiving. And as someone who's spent 3 of those Thanksgiving, Christmas seasons away from family, it's a mixed feeling, right? You love who you're with, the folks you're serving with. It's a sort of unique, special moment you're going to have a few times or once with these people, but you're also thinking about everybody back home. I mean, you're waiting for that to get a chance to make that phone call or send that message, and waiting for next year when you'll be with them, knowing that everyone's a few inches taller, the little ones, and you've missed a few memories, but you're doing it. This department does it for the rest of the country. And so we remember the reason for the season, Jesus Christ born in Bethlehem, but we also here, in a special way, in this city, in this courtyard, remember the men and women who do it for all of us. That's who we serve. I serve Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, and then we serve the men and women who serve us. We are servants, and this season we think about them, we pray for them, we remember them, and may this tree honor them as well. As they are apart from their families, we remember their sacrifice and their dedication, and that The ribbons and the bows and the presents and all the beautiful things under the tree are a wonderful earthly symbol of the way we love each other. That happened.
Everybody here. Thank you for being here.
All right, kiddos, you ready? Should we count down and light the tree?
Yeah.
All right. All right, put your hands on it, Gwenny. Everybody else, get up there, Luke. All right, we're going to count down from 5. We'll get it right. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right.
Celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7. I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Pandemic, we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. Oh, the men will cheer, the boys will shout, the ladies they will all turn out and belong.
Sorry, the mic was muted there. I hope you enjoyed that. That was our first week at Media Week in orientation at the Pentagon. We'll be back often, multiple times a month. And look, like I said, we're likely going to be traveling with Secretary Lohmeyer and also likely going to be embedded on the USS Ford in the Caribbean, the aircraft carrier. So we'll see about that to be determined. But I've got in the green room Emerald Robinson. She's the host of The Absolute Truth on Lindell TV. I'm going to bring her in. Emerald, thank you for joining me this morning. Hi. Well, you have broken, I guess, the biggest story in American history, and you're getting called all the time to go on all the big networks, right? I mean, they're beating down your door.
Phone's ringing off the hook from the Big Six and Fox, and yeah, just chomping at the bit to talk to me, Todd.
Not happening? Is that what you're telling me?
Not in the least. It's a total media blackout, but they are with the military action, which you just alluded to. That'd be very, very cool if you got to go to the USS Gerald Ford and cover what's happening militarily in Venezuela. I got an offer, but I'm a mom of small children, so I decided to stay home.
You got priorities, yes.
I'm going to sit that one out, but I'm so glad to hear that you might be doing that. Because of what the president is doing, the mainstream media is now being forced to cover the Venezuela problem, but still within certain parameters, right? Because they're still not touching the election fraud aspect of that. And there are some who's touching it a little bit now and pretending they were always on board with covering election fraud. But, you know, and in the last 24 hours, so much more has happened that I think another dam will break on this story. Because now here's what I will say, and I would love to hear, I don't think they got asked about it at Media Week. Maybe they did. I tried to watch as much as I could at the Pentagon. We had our own Heather Mullins there for Lindell TV, but there's a lot going on this week and I didn't get to watch everything. But I do wish that the administration would explain that it's not just the narco trafficking, the money laundering aspect of Venezuela's war on the United States, but there is this, you know, election interference and counter intel problem as well, because I think they would get more support for their military action that has come under fire the last couple of weeks, Todd.
You know, I've heard that from other knowledgeable people saying, why don't they just explain, do a, you know, Wednesday night broadcast to the nation. This is what's really going on. This is how they impacted our country. This is why we're doing this. You know, I asked that question to the press secretary, and she said, well, talk to the State Department. So, you know, I guess that's a legal answer. But so for our audience who may not have been following you or us talking about what you're reporting, or Patrick Byrne, can you give us the elevator pitch of what your story entails, please?
Yeah, and I will let people know they can go to my ex at Emerald Robinson to see. It is a long tweet thread, and I've gotten some complaints that it's not really a thread. I've numbered them as individual tweets, and there's a specific reason for that. It's because this topic is still so suppressed and censored.
Totally.
It's unbelievable because Elon Musk has a part in this story.
Yeah.
But it is. And so I did it that way so they couldn't just hide the thread altogether. It makes it harder to suppress it. And that seems to have worked for now. That's why that's that way. But if that's hard for you to follow, you can go to emerald.tv to my Substack, where I'm putting the tweets in more of an article. So you can follow that way as well. Here's the gist of it. Back in 2020, we had an idea that there was foreign interference in the U.S. election, right? Something did not make sense. I had been briefed pretty shortly after the 2020 election that Venezuela had a part in this via the software systems produced by Smartmatic. This software, this Venezuelan-born software, though Smartmatic technically isn't in many counties or states across the country, it's Los Angeles County, right, still uses Smartmatic. But that is one of the most populous counties in the country. You have to go back and look at the acquisitions and the purchases and the mergers over the year that sort of began. There were electronic voting before that. There were voting machines before that. But this kind of election rigging that occurs now sort of was born out of Chavez's Venezuela with Smartmatic. 2004, Chavez is facing a referendum, right? From what I'm told, he did win his first election legitimately, but then he wasn't a great leader. Facing a lot of opposition in the referendum, and they knew they needed to rig it some way for him to stay in power. So he directed his vice president at the time, Jorge Rodriguez, his sister Delcy's now vice president of Venezuela under Maduro, to commission the production or the creation of some way to do this. So they did it with this software. Now, it was born out of like some lottery system in Italy. There's all this interesting ways that it came about, and I described some of that in my thread as well. But essentially, they created this software that allows them to go in, and even Alex Halderman, the liberal professor from Michigan, says that with this kind of software, you can go in and change the votes in a way that is untraceable.
He did it. He did it with a pen in the courtroom too.
He did it with a pen.
Yeah.
Other ways you can do it, which more people are talking about now, you create a virtual machine, a virtual computer in the RAM. Flip the votes, you disappear the virtual computer, no one knows you've been there. But I've talked to the engineers, some of the engineers who were involved with the creation of this software at the behest of their government. Remember, they were doing this in Chavez's Venezuela, Maduro's Venezuela after that. And they were, citizens of Venezuela. So they did it. One worked directly for the government as the distributor of this software in an entity called CNE, which is Venezuela's election entity. They create the software. It's wildly successful. Chavez wins his referendum. They said, we've really got something here. And they
Yeah.
decide to take it global. It ends up showing up in the United States. And these Venezuelans tell me that it was deployed for Obama's first win. How it was described to me is that this person came in themselves into the United States, worked with localities to get Smartmatic implemented. And what they did is they deployed it in the primary. So how they explain it is that Obama didn't have organic support initially.
Mm-hmm.
They inorganically rigged some of the counties and
Boosted
states
him
for
up so that he could get the slot.
boosted him up,
on the
and then
election.
it created an organic wave.
Right.
Because nobody really knew him,
Yeah.
right? Early in those primaries.
So let me ask you before we get further, it's my understanding that Dominion and ES&S are kind of like the grandchildren of Smartmatic, correct?
They are. You can say
Yeah.
it's the same DNA because so Smartmatic works, they bring it to the United States, then they acquire Sequoia voting systems.
Mm-hmm.
Sequoia's already got a good market share here in the United States. Eric Coomer, one of those names that's mentioned a lot in relation to Dominion, worked for Sequoia.
Mm-hmm.
But then Smartmatic, what people also don't know, they say, oh, they have nothing to do with each other, right? That's what Dominion and Smartmatic said in all of these lawsuits post-2020 election. Actually, Smartmatic engineers and technicians moved from Smartmatic into Sequoia.
Yeah.
And then when Dominion acquires Sequoia, or when there's a merger there, they move like one name, to give receipts is a guy named Ronald Morales. He moves to Dominion. These guys move and work in these companies, so they say they have nothing to do with each other. And then just to tell you, they do have the same software. These companies have had legal battles with each other. There are official court documents showing that they've disagreed over who has the licensing rights to the software that Smartmatic created.
So they know. Yeah.
They know.
and Liberty's coming along and like to change the name, and
we got more on that. And
okay.
let's
won't jump ahead. I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
So and we're just really getting the picture of it based on recent court documents that were very revealing, because you had a lot of conservative influencers out there, Todd, saying, oh, this is different. The guy who's going to own it, he's conservative. They're not going to be connected to the internet. They're going to reform the whole thing. Yeah, right.
Later this morning, I want to talk to you about Conservative Inc. when we get past this point, but we'll get.
I can't wait. So we go through all these years, right? But then we get to 2020. Dominion's the machines that they only have 30% of the market share in 2020. They're in the battleground states. They're in Pennsylvania, a lot of Pennsylvania counties, Georgia, Arizona, Michigan. And something doesn't add up. I always read pretty quickly on the Smartmatic connection to Venezuela. And in fact, in one of my defamation depositions, I didn't even know this fact. One of the attorneys for the voting machine companies asked me, do you realize that your traffic on Dominion and Smartmatic preceded 99.9% of the traffic? And I said, no, I didn't know that. I was just talking to sources, and they're like, who are your sources? I'm like, well, the National Security Council and the Department of Homeland Security. There's emails from my, work email that show that. This was pretty widely known. And now we know, based on conversations I've had with whistleblowers, that they had reports on Smartmatic prior to 2020. They'd already been discussing them prior to 2020. It was already a concern. And the intelligence community, the larger intelligence community, were pushing back on those couple of people within the intelligence community who was saying, this is a problem. And then, of course, post-2020, this is a problem. And I've been told there are emails from 2020 and 2021 that could be declassified today by CIA Director John Ratcliffe and even Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, though she might not really know they're there. That shows these conversations about these reports. They might not can release the classified reports on Smartmatic, but they're there. And there's the email conversations about them and the pushback from the intelligence community about talking about these or including them in the post-2020 report from then acting Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe. So the people who had been investigating this for some time, even leading up to 2020, immediately knew what it was. They had initially started looking. I call them the Three Musketeers. There was at that time a larger group. One is now passed. His name was Rich Higgins. They were known as Foot Patrol. There were more of them then, but by
he had a COVID reaction. Am I correct? I mean, he had a COVID. So that, that could be, who knows?
He was in the hospital, and then he had to have a surgery related to some complications from COVID, and he died.
Yeah.
Great American. We'd be in a better place if he was still with us today. He wrote the memo. I'll plug his book. You can still go buy his book.
I have a copy.
It's very informative. Yeah, I think you can buy it at calamopress.com, CALAMO press. The publisher's a really good friend of mine. So we knew a lot of this then, and those people told me this is exactly what we've been looking at out of Venezuela. They're using it all over the globe. They knew then that USAID funding was being used to put it in the Philippines and Bulgaria. So there's a lot we knew. We didn't have to go through the 4 years of the Biden regime. They could have proved it then if the blockers in the Trump administration and in the intelligence community hadn't stopped the president. They also brought the fox into the hen house to investigate it. Remember, the Washington Post and the New York Times always cite this one investigation that Trump commissioned post 2020 that says, oh, look, they said they didn't find anything. Well, yeah, these were the guys who were involved with the Venezuelans and making sure this happened in the United States and have been flipped by the Cuban-Venezuela coalition all the way back in the early 2000s. That's who they brought to investigate.
Yeah, wild. Obvious.
Yeah, nothing happens. But these Three Musketeers, I call them, it's Patrick Byrne, Gary Bernstein, the legendary former CIA station chief who went into Afghanistan initially and actually did a good job, and then we had to stay there forever. But it wasn't it wasn't anything that Gary Bernstein didn't do. And another gentleman who is not a U.S. citizen continued to investigate this for years. And they tried to get anyone they could talk to, Todd, to listen to them. That included sitting senators. It included the whole House Freedom Caucus. It included Fox News, briefing Mike Pompeo, who was then a contributor there, who called Paul Ryan. They immediately shut down the briefing, mid-briefing, on what all this was. And then they settled like the next day with Dominion. They tried to talk to everybody. Only one senator really, really took it seriously, and that's Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. And it was ultimately he and former Senator David Perdue. Remember, he was spending a lot of time at Mar-a-Lago focusing specifically on election integrity prior to the 2024 election, who got this foreign national a visit to Mar-a-Lago to brief Susie Wiles. Susie Wiles listens to it. I've seen this briefing in its entirety, but he gave her, kind of the 1 hour pitch. And I think they could give that 1 hour pitch to the American people with a couple of redactions. And I think that would be helpful, because even after the 1 hour briefing, you see it. And a lot of it's open source intelligence that people could go and check.
Well, this Serbia stuff has been out for years. I mean, it was in the court cases. I mean, Patrick Byrne, all that in Michigan, all of that, it's been out there. It's just nobody wants to cover it. Yeah. Nobody
wants to touch it. You could find some of that. Some of that discovery is under seal, which is unfortunate because there's a lot there. I know a little bit of what's there, and I mean, it's case closed. And now, when we talk about Liberty Vote a little bit, once you get to Liberty Vote, you'll understand that now the point, because they're trying to get rid of all that discovery and tell the lawyers to get rid of it, and that they won't have access to it. So going back to 2024, finally, this man gets a meeting at Mar-a-Lago. He gives Susie Wiles the short briefing. Something really strikes her with it. From what I'm told, her face immediately kind of turns pale. She orders a piece of cake. They always include this in the story. She orders a piece of cake. She eats it. She thinks about what she's heard, and then she says, "Okay, you need to run this by Elon." And so the man does go to Elon's residence. Remember, he was living down at Mar-a-Lago. He goes to Elon and he's prepared to give the very long 6 hour briefing, the long version. And Elon tells him, look, I don't listen to briefings. I don't have time for that. Just give me your data. And the guy gives him a thumb drive, Musk puts it in the computer, runs it through AI, gets essentially a one pager, right? A summary. But that's enough for him. He gets on the phone and says, this is true.
And what was the time frame?
We're in trouble.
What was the time frame on this?
This would have been, okay, so Musk went to Pennsylvania the next morning. That was October 17th. That would have been October 16th.
Okay.
Because remember, he had that iconic town hall where he mentioned Dominion. And he said, why are they in all of these battleground counties? You notice it's in Maricopa? And he said explicitly that they can be rigged and that there's vulnerabilities there. It was based on what he had just seen the day before.
Interesting. Yeah.
He calls and says, lets everyone know they'd have a problem. He actually used an expletive. He says, and he assigns a tech guy to this guy to, start working with him. The guy stays for 3 days. One of the musketeers stays for 3 days to brief multiple people at Mar-a-Lago. They also end up bringing in the engineers. So over the few years since 2020, since all this happened, this team of three, the three musketeers, Bernson, and this guy, they had started flipping whistleblowers in South America. They ended up with a dozen. These people were now dissidents from Venezuela and were going to be targeted by the cartel. They had to move them all over. They held them in, a part of South America first. Then they had to take them to Switzerland for their safety. Stade, Switzerland. They hold up in, I think anywhere in Switzerland's lovely, but they say it was a pretty crappy hostel, like youth hostel that they were living in. And they took their families as well. And Patrick Byrne was keeping all these people up and keeping security around them to keep them alive. He strained all of his finances. He strained his wealth to do this. They're living in Stade, and that's where Flynn comes over to see them in like July of 2024, just to check this out and see if it's legit. And I'm told he was taken aback. And he asked them, how long have you all been doing this? Like, how extensive is this? And the lead engineer says, look, it's 2 decades and 72 countries, including yours. So these guys are still in Stade at the time of October 2024. They began working via video conferencing with, people back in the States to share everything they know, how this is done. There's another really interesting part of this story. There's a Japanese blogger, who had been putting out on Twitter X for years that he had the IP addresses to the 2020 election, that he's just some techie. But I mean, you have to wonder, what's a Japanese blogger doing watching US elections and tracking the IP addresses and the data of the traffic, right? So the Three Musketeers reached out to him in a DM and it was interesting. An outside researcher who was working with the Three Musketeers, helping them, had kept bugging one of them. Hey, you've got to check out this Japanese blogger. He might have some info for you. You got to check this guy out. They check him out. And so finally, like a year later, one of them contacts him on DMs. And the guy's like, yeah, it was essentially like, buy me a coffee. They gave him $15 in Bitcoin, and he uploaded a Dropbox file for them.
Wow.
And then the engineers start looking at the data there and say, yeah, this is legit. The IP addresses are given to, people in the US. Now, this is the part that has been very protected. And this is how I've been told it. There was a team of contractors, defense contractors, who got the information. There was an exchange, no names exchanged, but it was arranged. There is a 2015 act of Congress about cyber threats, right? Cybersecurity that provides for that mechanism. They get the data and the IP addresses. It points back to Serbia. And of course, there's the emails from all this discovery. And there's also a Macedonian asset, human asset. So there's human intelligence about the Belgrade, Serbia office. So you got 3 confirmations there. They managed to basically fry the power in the computers for, I'm told, 3 days. So the day before the election and then a couple days after, right? So they couldn't do anything. Belgrade was taken down. They were nullified for that election. And that's how President Trump was able to prevail. But now that's a one-time lifeline.
I have a question, because a lot of people think that the general, the top level was, as you say, allowed to go forward, but a lot of the down ballot races were not.
They were totally stolen.
Yeah.
But remember, they held those. They kept holding those, not reporting them. You had the influx of mail-in ballots. Now, one thing that Team Trump did do well, if you look at Pennsylvania specifically, there was 700,000 less mail-in ballots than there were in 2020. They did have a lot of lawyers on the ground in Pennsylvania, and I got a lot of calls from Pennsylvania from Team Trump's lawyers that day saying, okay, they're trying to do this. We're working on this, just so you know, this is happening. Or if you would see people on the ground in Pennsylvania reporting, people were very vigilant about, are there being massive amounts of ballots being dropped off that day? But if you look at like California, they waited 30 days to call multiple key races there. And then some, the Republican was winning. And in none of them where the Republican was winning initially, did they end up winning by the end of the 30 days.
Right.
So the engineers I asked the engineers that question. They explained, well, there's 15 ways to cheat, but it was a little bit harder at the top. And when you didn't see the flip after 7 p.m. that night for the presidential race.
Fantastic. So where are we now? Who's on our team? Who's on the dark side, if you will?
Sometimes it's hard to know.
Yeah.
And there are still blockers within the president's team.
Right.
And so that brings us to some breaking news over the last 24 hours. And then we'll talk specifically about we'll talk about a specific block. A very high-ranking Venezuelan intelligence official named Hugo Carvajal has been in U.S. custody since 2023 when he was extradited. He was set to go to trial at the end of the summer this year. And if he'd been convicted, he wouldn't have been a participating witness. To give you an idea who he was the guy who was always in the room for Chavez and Maduro. He did a lot of flipping assets and paying off people, right? He says even in the United States. He published,
by the way.
This is my ex, but late yesterday afternoon, Hugo penned a confession, an affidavit, a letter to President Trump saying what he has done, what he has seen, and how it works. The drug trafficking, the money laundering, the vote rigging.
How was that received in the White House? Do you know?
I know that the president's seen it. I know that he's been briefed about it.
Okay.
Here's the issue. Okay, so Hugo pins this. It goes into the Dallas Express, is where it was originally printed. The Miami Herald has picked it up. Of course, I have the important snippets as it relates to electioneering, election rigging on my ex at Emerald Robinson. Hugo has been sitting there waiting since he made the deal months ago to be debriefed by the Trump administration. Anytime the government makes a deal, they come to collect, right? They wanted something from these guys. Someone has been blocking the debriefing of Hugo Carvajal, one of the best assets we now have in our custody, who is a participating witness. He knows everything. He knows, here is the thing. He knows at least dozens of names of traitorous U.S. officials and members of the intelligence community. And he is ready to give them over.
Wow.
His lawyers said they've never had a client that has made a deal and the government doesn't come to be briefed, that they're being blocked from brief. The DEA needs to debrief him. The DOJ needs to debrief him, and it hasn't happened. And that is why they decided to publish this letter to the president in the Dallas Express.
Wow.
Carvajal's a little bit worried that the government's not going to protect him if they don't want his information.
He should be. Yeah.
So this is why he's doing this. He's got a self-interest in doing it, right? He wants to stay alive. And if you go and read this, and I'm going to put it on my Substack as well, he talks about his background, why he knows what he knows. This has been confirmed by the United States. They extradited him in 2023. But you know what? The year they extradited him is the same year that Joe Biden gave a pardon to what we call the treasurer. He's essentially the treasurer for the Cartel del Sol, or Joe Biden's auto pen dead. Who knows who actually authorized that, for money laundering $350 million of cartel money through the U.S. So that's just interesting contradictions there, right? But Carvajal was way up in Cartel del Sol. He knows how all of this is done. He knows the ties to the Cuban regime as well in the early 2000s that started this counterintelligence operation against the United States. He knows all about Tren de Aragua and how they really work. Like I said, he's ready. He says U.S. diplomats and CIA officers were paid to assist Chavez and Maduro in remaining in power, and that they acted, these Americans, he writes this, quote, these Americans acted as spies for Cuba and Venezuela, and some remain active to this day.
There was the whole thing in Arizona with the infiltration of the mortgages, paying off politicians and all that. That got quieted up very quickly. What people need to realize is this has been infiltrated all the way from the national down to the local level, right? I mean, judges, election clerks, all the way down. Am I right about that?
It is, yeah, and it's just what they started with in Venezuela. They did it to the Cartel del Sol rigs everything for the judges at the municipal level, and that's what they have been, doing here in the United States as well. This guy is waiting to be an intelligence asset for us, a witness for us, and unless Donald Trump steps in, and hopefully he will now that this has been published, and I know he's been briefed on it, he's going to have to apparently tell Bondi and Todd Blanche, you must do this or else. Because I have heard that is who's blocking it. That's who it's being attributed to. So we now have this. There's no reason not to move forward on all this. And you remember also Smartmatic, and he goes into detail on Smartmatic too. Smartmatic already has a superseding indictment in the Southern District of Florida for corruption and bribery charges in the Philippines. But if you look in that indictment, it also talks about where the hardware is made. And it's Taiwan and China. It says that in that indictment. That's already case closed there. That's a problem. And it says that all the voting machine companies use this vendor.
So now we have the situation in Venezuela where we have a lot of military force in the Caribbean prepared to do something. Our people are saying, well, yeah, it's about the elections. It's not really about the drugs, and that there's infrastructure there they're looking for. There's $2 trillion plus in assets they've been using to infiltrate the country. What are your thoughts on, or what can you comment on that whole operation?
Well, I know it's because of this, the election interference, the flipping of assets in the United States, the counterintelligence problem, right? And of course, it's also about trying to destabilize the United States with Tren de Aragua, which, Maduro says was at the behest of Joe Biden. And I mean, that kind of lines up, right?
Sure, totally.
It's believable. I think the problem we face, one of the biggest threats we face right now, we could talk about the military, and I know you know that better than me. That's way more your wheelhouse than mine. But I think the president has to be very careful here. This is a risky prospect, right? Because militarily it could go wrong.
Totally.
Installing a new person could go very wrong. There's lots of things here that are on the line. And I think that people have to understand why it's so important to do this. And then it has to be handled with care. Something else that has to be handled with care is that it will be all for naught if we don't fix the domestic side of this. And that's getting rid of the electronic voting machines and going back to Con Inc., bringing it full circle.
Yeah.
I already see an attempt to take my reporting and repurpose it and then say, well, doesn't mean that we can't use electronic voting machines. They just don't need to be connected to the internet. Or, we need to be able to test them. Well, quite frankly, that's BS.
I agree.
You never.
Well, let me ask you this, because, and I'm not going to name names, maybe I will down the road, but there are, I call them conservative Inc. I mean, it's essentially controlled opposition where, that have pushed Kash Patel into office, that have pushed Boris Epstein into office, that have
Boris has called people to ask if I would just lay off him. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, and then you had, the binder incident at the White House. I mean, it looks like some of MAGA helped install these people, and they won't have you on to talk about the elections in this whole operation. So how do people watching discern who is telling the truth and who may not, who may be like telling only part of the truth?
We'll see who's censored and who's not, I
Well,
guess.
there you
The
go.
best
Yeah.
has been the best indicator for me. And that's how I
Yeah.
learned who some of my colleagues were. And I
Yeah.
wondered, why aren't they being censored? And then I
Yeah.
find out.
Yeah.
I think that's a good indication. So it can be
Mhm.
hard to find those true voices.
Mhm.
It is really hard. I've had to learn along the way. There were people I trusted and was very surprised at who they
Mhm.
really were.
Mhm.
But what, and so, and I mean, so there is a push. I can't figure out who's behind it. It's either in the administration or very well connected to keep the machines.
Yes.
And that's being obvious by watching these preferred Koenig.
Yeah. And that's the whole liberty thing, right? As you said,
Yeah.
that was the whitewash. Yeah.
And I think this is a great way to wrap up where we are now is that, so in recent filings, just in the last week, in one of the defamation cases related to the voting machines in Colorado. Well, first, let me tell you, the attorneys, Sussman Godfrey, who represented Dominion, is now representing Liberty Vote. Sussman Godfrey was also one of those law firms, those swampy law firms that was sanctioned by President Trump a few months ago, like April, and their security clearances were pulled for their nefarious activities in the past. That's who's representing Liberty Vote. Now, in a different defamation case, the attorney has asked, well, who is representing specifically Scott Landendecker, who is the owner of Liberty Votes, and they won't give that information. They just want to know who's his attorney. And Sussman Godfrey won't provide that, which it moves that attorney to speculate, well, it must be Sussman Godfrey then, which is a huge conflict. This is all conflict. And what's also in the original one I was talking about in Colorado, in one of the filings, Lindsay Kurtz, who is the general counsel for Dominion, says that they are closed and therefore they don't need to participate with discovery anymore. And they're going to close down the discovery database. But then in that same filing, all they can find is a name change that was filed for by Landendecker for Liberty Vote, meaning that Dominion just simply changed names.
He sent out an email. He sent out emails, same team, same mission, different name. He sent that to all the Dominion clients. So,
right.
Yeah.
So, but now they're trying to get rid of all the discovery documents. And then in another case, the judges ordered the lawyer to destroy them because it's all over. Dominion doesn't exist anymore. So this is what we worried it was when we heard the news rec about Liberty Vote. It looks like a cover-up.
Yeah. Totally.
And a way to keep the machines.
Well, is there anything else you want to get out? I've taken a lot of your time, but
it's always good to see you. Thanks, Todd.
Yeah,
I just want to say I appreciate your support. I appreciate your fearlessness. I'm glad that you're going to be in the Pentagon. That'll be great. I look forward to your reporting there. And I really appreciate those people who supported me. It has not, ever since I started talking about election fraud, I got shut down.
Yeah.
I don't forget that.
Well, thank you. We'll have you back as more breaks. Thank you, Emerald. We'll see you again soon. Take care.
Thanks, Todd.
I'm a naturopathic doctor. We are in the world of medicine very acquainted with many modalities, but probably the one most familiar with everybody would be two things: homeopathy and herbs, maybe some nutrients too, vitamins, minerals, that kind of thing. Now, we do know a lot about the drugs because we have to find out what drug you're taking affects you and what nutrient it depletes you of, because most every drug pharmacy product will deplete something. So we have been trained and we have a database that we can check into that says this is going to take your B12 away. The pharmaceutical company cannot patent organic substances made by the body. You're not born short of Advil. You're not born short of Ritalin.
Yeah.
You can be born short of insulin, right?
Mm-hmm.
The answers to staying healthy and keeping away from even SARS or any of those things getting into you is staying healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You and I get sick because our terrain gets out of balance. Well, that's the same thing in the soil. You and I are made from this thing called dirt. And when we get out of balance, we have the same thing happen. Weeds start to grow in our body. Right? And that's what we want in our body. We want nutrients that we don't understand how to get well enough yet because our suppliers are lacking knowledge on nutrient density foods.
So this is what drove you to develop
Well,
this, was your knowledge of this, right?
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know that.
I'm excited to announce that we're having a huge sale on overstock and brand new products. For example, My Pillow per Kill bed sheets, every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. Our Perkel bed sheets are breathable, cool and crisp, and they're perfect for spring and summer. And check out Rev 7, the next generation of energy drinks. It tastes great, and it gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. Best of all, it's actually good for you. And for a limited time, try our 3-pack absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs, or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Perkel bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88. Twin size, full size, queen size, king sizes, all $29.88. Inventory is extremely limited at this price, so order now.
So welcome back to the SCIF. Let's talk Christmas for a minute. Silver rounds. If you have kids, grandkids, go to Advisor Metals, cdmmetals.com. Let me bring that up so you can see that and remember it. cdmmetals.com. Great stocking stuffer, silver rounds that you can buy, and it will hold its value for a long time. It's been a 5,000-year store of value, precious metals, along with gold. Advisor Metals is the team to go to. We've checked all of their regulatory issues, their banking references, their IRA custodian references. He's a patriot. He's easy to work with. I had a great client come in yesterday, or viewer come in yesterday and said, I started working with Advisor Metals, and I just want to say thank you. They're great people. They're not high pressure salesmen. They are trying to help me. And that's how you build long-term relationships. And that's the kind of people we want to advise our viewers to use. So check out Advisor Metals at cdmmetals.com. If you call them directly, tell them CDM sent you, please. Thank you. So I have a treat for you. I was at the Pentagon for the last 4 or 5 days, actually, and made some good relationships. And it brought me back to my military service days. And I really enjoyed the camaraderie that's still there in the Pentagon. You know, it's an amazing place. 25,000 people go there and work every day. People working for our country. Just because we have traitors in the top of our government and in certain sectors doesn't mean these people don't deserve our praise and thank yous. So I have a surprise for you. Bob Hope was always a fantastic guy for the troops at Christmas, and I'm going to play some of the Vietnam Bob Hope shows. It's a great video. I think you'll really enjoy it. And let me just get that teed up here while I can. Okay, there it is. 1 second. All right, so here we go. Bob Hope in Vietnam, and we'll be back to close out the show.
From Saigon, Long Binh, Bearcat, Da Nang, Cu Chi, Pleiku, Lai Khe, Chu Lai, Phu Quoc, Phan Rang, and Cam Bay in Vietnam. From Guam, Wake Island, and Clark Field in the Philippines. From the USS Ranger and the USS Coral Sea on Yankee Station in the Gulf of Tonkin. And from Korat, Udorn, Takli, Ubon, Nakhon Phanom, and Bangkok, Thailand. The Bob Hope Christmas Special, starring Raquel Welch, Barbara McNair, Elaine Dunn, Madeleine Hartog Bell, Miss World, Bill Crosby, Earl Wilson, Les Brown and his band of renown.
We knew it was going to be an unusual trip right from the start. Les Brown was on time. At 10:05, it was wheels up and out across the Pacific, 8,000 miles to Thailand. Our first stop was with the men of the 8th Tactical Fighter Wing at Ubon. As you can see, these are dedicated men. You can also see what they're dedicated to. We didn't have to worry about the sense of humor here. Look at this sign from one lonely GI who's headed for home in 76 days. All you pooch eyes. I don't know what that means, but it played very big at the bathhouse. Very thrilled to be back here at Ubon, Royal Air Thai Air Base. The gateway to Ubon Ratchathani. Is that a word or a booby trap? No, we're at Wolfpack, the world's largest distributor of MiG parts. The base has a wonderful location right between Laos and Cambodia, two of our stronger allies. Those fellas in the back there with the go-to-hell hats are from the Australian Air Force. They're the guys who go around putting kangaroo stencils on everything. I woke up this morning with a pouch on my pouch. And I must say the Thais are probably the most polite people in the world. When they greet you, they bow and put their hands like this. I'm glad somebody finally explained that to me. I thought they were praying for my act. We've been invited to do another command performance at the Palace again, and I think it's wonderful. This is the 4th time the King has invited us. He keeps hoping we'll bring back the towels. And Bangkok is Les Brown's favorite city. No wonder. Where else can you be knighted for playing the saxophone? And the average Thai eats 365 pounds of rice a year. Same as the White House. By the way, the president told me to give you your best. They just had the wedding then. He told me to give you this for him. That's all you need over here. More rice, huh? At the close of our 2.5-hour show, 100 mission pilot Lieutenant Fred McCoy of Sheboygan, Wisconsin, presented us with a gift for a great entertainer who couldn't be with us this year and whom we all miss very much, Jerry Colonna. No time for loitering. It's 2 a day today. Let's zoom up to Udorn, where even the Republicans turned out to greet us. What an audience. And what a welcome they gave to the most beautiful girl in the world, the new Miss World, Madeleine Hartog Bell of Peru. Welcome, Miss Bell, and ring-a-ding-ding. You see, Madeline, that's a hip expression, meaning
You don't have to explain, Bob. I am not exactly a square.
Yeah, you hardly fit into that category. But really, Madeline, I haven't heard a reception like that since I stepped off the plane. Of course, they thought I was a replacement. You know, it's just a wild hunch, but I get the feeling that these fellas are wild about you.
Bob, you mean all that applause is for me?
Well, if it's for me, this whole base is under arrest. You come from a large family, don't you, Madeline?
Yes, I have 6 sisters and 1 brother. What about you, Bob?
Well, I have 5 brothers, 1 sister, and 1.
And what?
I don't know. We're waiting for word from the draft book. Madeline, these men are all technicians out here, and I'm sure they'd be interested in your vital statistics. Let me handle it for you, men.
Well, I am 5'6" and weigh about 8 stone.
You weigh 8 stones.
Yes.
Is that right? What a wonderful way to get stoned. Now, tell us more, my doll.
Well, my measurements are 35, 23, 35.
Steady, steady. Just your name, rank, and serial number. Not your secret weapon.
You know, Bob, I never realized it before.
What, honey?
But we're almost the same height.
We are the same height?
Yes. Why don't we stand close together and see who's taller?
Mm-hmm.
Who's taller?
Mm-hmm.
Who's taller?
Who cares? And now let's jump from Udorn to Da Nang, the hot spot on the northeast coast of Vietnam. If you think you're confused, you should have seen what security did to us. We changed directions more often than a burp in a wind tunnel. The 3rd Marines have seen a lot of combat, and they needed all their experience to find a place to sit on this hill. Here in Da Nang, it was strictly CRO, climbing room only. Look at these cats. They're lying with their bodies under the stage and their faces staring up at them. Here I am at Da Nang, better known as Dodge City. Yes, sir. Da Nang is one of my favorite stops, and I mean stops. Go any further and you're in Kong country. And the guys love it here because Da Nang has such a wonderful location. It's so handy to downtown Hanoi. And I want to tell you, folks, these Marines are really tough. I asked one guy if he'd seen... Yeah, you're tougher than I thought. They're really tough. I asked one guy if he'd seen John Wayne, and he said, "John Wayne, who's she?" And their motto is Semper Fidelis. That means, oh, don't worry about it, Doc. Just nail it back on. There's some guys that never made it up there. Come on down. I don't think they're on our side, are they? Nice lot you bought. No, the Marines here would go over the hill if it wasn't for one thing. The Marines on the other side of the hill went over the hill to get over here. You can work that out. You're ready for Section 8. But these Marines have a great history. They've landed on more beaches than Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello. No, I go way back. I go way back with the Marines. Wake Island, Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima. I saw all those pictures. Now, man, I bring you great news from the land of liberty. It's still there. You may have to cross a picket line to see it, but it's there. But don't worry about those riots you hear about in the States. You'll be sent to survival school before they send you back there. And Have you got the college scores over here? You've heard the results of the big game, UCLA 21, Dow Chemical 12. Now, Dow Chemical just got even with the students. They came out with an asbestos draft card. Can you imagine those peaceniks back home burning their draft cards? Why don't they come over here and Charlie will burn them for them? And everything's going up at home.
I'm watching my friends gain more and more weight. And then eventually, I got to tell you, this is a little dark. But bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition-specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this. You take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back, cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
I'm David Cross, and you may know me from my election integrity work, but I also own U.S. Asset Management, an investment advisory practice. I've been an advisor for nearly 30 years, and one of the questions I get asked most frequently is, do I have enough money relative to other people my age? And while that's an interesting question, it's also the wrong question. The right question is do you have enough money to sustain your lifestyle for the rest of your life? This is a question you should know the answer to. This is what we do. Check us out at us-am.com and look for our big proud American Eagle logo.
We have foot, flog, 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 slogging over Africa. Foot, 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 slogging over Africa. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. 7, 6, 11.
Welcome back to the SCIF. I hope you enjoyed Bob Hope is a great favorite of mine. The Vietnam clips are just outstandingly funny if you like good humor. It's Christmas time. We're going to talk about the military as we're at the Pentagon for our new assignment on the Pentagon Press Corps, CDM and AFP, our military channel, armedforces.press. It may not just be me. We may be adding some other reporters to be there as well. And we're going to be really strong in reporting military issues out of the Pentagon. So stand by for all of that. A lot of good stuff coming. David Cross, our resident financial advisor. If you have an issue with estate planning, with retirement planning, which is the biggie, death in the family, divorce, whatever, he's your guy. You can trust him. We've had great feedback from our people. And again, we try to stay with the same support, vendors that we recommend to our viewers. That we have just faith in and have really good experience with. If they don't make it, we cut it. So anyway, that's we can really highly recommend David Cross at U.S. Asset Management, us-am.com for any financial planning needs. Also, I want to bring this up. The Manhattan.press, our New York paper, go to the top. There's the Manhattan bestsellers list. I've said this many times, but in the top menu, these are editors' picks, but just the best books, most selling books. For instance, in these, if you go, you can bring in the top 10. For instance, this is adult nonfiction bestsellers, just the best-selling books, the ones that sell the most. No bias, liberal books on here, whatever. And you can buy these. You can go to checkout and buy them from the CDM bookstore. And if you want to search in the top space there, search book space, you can buy any book for your business, for your school, for your trip, whatever. Buy it from us. Don't buy it from Amazon or other people who don't support, who are censors and don't support free media. So check that out. The Manhattan.press bestsellers list and the CDM bookstore. With that, that's really all we had today. It's been a crazy week. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow, Ivan Raiklin. Going to be a killer show. Ivan Raiklin, first hour, maybe longer, knowing Ivan. So we're really pressing on. We see our role as free media as pressuring the administration to do what's right and not what the donors want. So we want what's right for the American people. Sometimes those line up with the donors. Many times they don't. So we are the voice of the forgotten man. We are the credible voice. We are the voice that goes anywhere we need to go. We don't care. We're not beholden to anybody. We haven't taken money from any entity to not say or say certain things. So anyway, we'll be with you tomorrow, 10 to noon, Monday through Friday on the SCIF. So stay with us and come back tomorrow. I'm trying to think what else I need to tell you. There's going to be a lot more reporting out of the Pentagon and on what's going on in Venezuela. We may be also getting some briefings from some of the units down in the Caribbean. So a lot happening. Thank you for all your patience this week. Always, we got to up the production game at the Pentagon. I know that there was a lot of, blinking lights on the videos and stuff, but you know what? We got the information out. That's how we roll. We put money into travel. We put money into research. We put money into reporters in the field. We don't always have the best technology, but we're working on that. So again, we'll see you tomorrow, 10 to noon on the SCIF. Ivan Raiklin. Thanks for joining.